It's time to go full demon time.
Basically, he was upset because I had higher viewership than him, slamming the door.
And I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression.
He would throw things in front of me and near me.
She did tell me she got a bruise from it, and I stopped. We cuddled for about 30 minutes.
And he started kissing me in my face. And then
I started to advance to the next stage.
He tried to climb on top of me and aggressively,
because I thought that's what she wanted.
Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably seen that the Twitch scene is absolutely imploding now because of what Emiru streamed recently. Mostly with her calling out and exposing Miskf for their past relationship. Now, at the start of this stream, she spends the first 20 minutes or so talking about the TwitchCon incident, giving some updates on that, where this weird parasocial stalker came up to her, breached security. The guy apparently even fled the state at one point as well.
This guy was able to get really far away from San Diego, allegedly. And this whole time, my manager was basically begging Twitch, dude, please give us his name. We don't know who this person is. For all we know, he lives around where Emmy and her roommates live.
But then she switches topic and goes on to say that what she's talking about isn't from a spur of the moment and has also been checked over by lawyers first. So beforehand, this is going to be some pretty heavy stuff.
I've been in contact with a lawyer. I had them review everything that I'm planning to say today because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right.
And what Emiru goes on to talk about, and I'm going to quote directly here,
the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Miskf has done towards me, and some of these issues which are still ongoing.
Emiru then goes into detail about why she's, talking about this now. Firstly, because she believes that someone else might actually have the misfortune of what she went through.
The first and probably most severe reason is that one of the rules that I set for myself a long time ago about withholding this information was that if I ever felt like somebody else was in danger or being hurt, I would then make myself speak about it.
First of all, she believes that someone else could actually have the risk of experiencing the same things that she's talking about. And by putting it all out there, it can, stop this from happening. Now, Emiru also goes on to say that she has talked to 3 other people who have also mentioned Miskf's pattern of behavior. And this apparently was repeated with another person around 3 weeks ago.
I was informed by 3 separate people, one of whom was present for said incident, that he had done something similar to something that he had done to me, to someone in LA at the end of September. And this person is not a streamer or content creator, but obviously that does not matter. And because of this, I cannot in good conscience sit here knowing that I know critical information about someone that almost no one else does and not say anything.
And Emiru even claims that Miskf has been indirectly threatening her to keep quiet, basically, saying that he was going to go and create a smear campaign against her.
He has been indirectly threatening me through my friends and people that I work with. They've informed me that he said that if I ever talked about anything he did, he would try to create a smear campaign against me in retaliation. I was told that he even approached other streamers who were close with us back when we lived together, asking them if they would join with him, and they all refused.
He apparently targeted Emiru's friends and co-workers to try to get them on his side. And apparently as well, this smear campaign would involve Miskf alleging that Emiru would actually kill her own pets, since she's actually had a number of rabbits pass away whilst living with him.
Multiple people have told me that his plan was to claim that I kill animals and that I killed my own rabbits, since I had several of my rabbits pass away over the course of 3 years while I lived with him.
Emiru then tries to explain a timeline of events, beginning with her moving in with him at the end of 2021 due to Emiru having problems with stalkers when she lived in Kansas.
I moved in with him, I believe it was the end of 2021, because he offered, and I was having stalker issues in Kansas.
And the two apparently began dating in January 2022, following her joining OTK.
We started dating. We were in a relationship starting January 2022 after I joined OTK.
Now, she says that the relationship was apparently very codependent. Emiru relied on Miskf for feelings of safety, social life, and her job. And apparently Miskf was incredibly controlling, deciding what she wore, who she could be friends with, and also when she streamed.
I was very dependent on him for feelings of safety, social life, my stream, my job, everything. It's not a secret. I think everyone who paid attention knew that he was very controlling over what I wore, to a degree, who I was friends with, and even when I would stream.
She said that this abuse began with smaller things, such as Miskf even throwing plastic bottles at her, even though she asked him not to. Even apparently throwing his phone at her at one point, giving her a black eye.
He would throw bottles, like plastic bottles with liquid in it, not like glass bottles, at me, despite me telling him like I didn't like it and it scared me and I bruised very easily. He would throw his phone at me. I would tell him, you know, it scared me, I don't like it. And one time it even hit me in the eye, which caused me to get a black eye, but you know, was like, oh, it's an accident. And I was like, oh yeah, it's an accident. Like, you know, of course I'm not gonna think that. But
it wasn't until the cover-up allegations back in 2022, where Miskf was actually dropped by OTK for allegedly covering up sexual assault committed by one of his friends, Crazy Slick. And Emiru claims that after that, Miskf's behavior started to get a lot worse.
After that happened, his behavior started getting a lot worse. Which, I mean, I suppose it makes sense. You know, he was very stressed.
After a lot of time of the two streaming at separate times, what Emiru believed was actually a bid to make sure both of their streams perform well. So they actually weren't, you know, pulling viewership away from each other.
He never wanted to stream at the same time as me. And to me at the time, it made sense because, you know, I was like, well, of course, like, you know, we share a lot of community members. If we're live at separate times, we're both going to perform better. You know, it makes sense.
They did have a crossover, and this was in 2024, the Rust Kingdoms event. And whilst Emiru thought that this would be a good time to hang out with everyone, when she checked her DMs with Miskf, apparently he was saying that he was going to himself because she had a higher viewership than him.
And then I check my Discord messages, and he's messaging me. He's saying like, Emmy, I'm gonna KMS, I waited so long for this, etc. Basically, he was upset because I had higher viewership than him. That's literally it. I had higher viewership than him.
And whilst he ended his own stream, Emiru actually had to keep going, all while Miskf was walking around the house intentionally nearby her. He began slamming doors so loudly that it was even picked up on her stream.
Like, we haven't pillaged. Like, she was coming.
And even broke the front door, meaning that the lock wouldn't work.
And slamming the door so loud that my noise gate can pick it up. So even people on my stream are able to hear this is happening. And he slams it so hard and so many times that the front door literally broke. The lock did not work anymore.
And then Emiru left the stream to go and check on Miskf. And apparently he said that he hated her and all of their friends, and all they did was take from him.
I get up and I go talk to him. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I hate all of you guys. Like, all you guys do is just take from me. And like, I'm just done. Like, I'm just done. And I was like, is this like really happening because of rush drops? And he was like, I don't know what else to do. He was like going off on me, like basically saying that he hated me.
And it seems that this was basically the catalyst for all of the that was about to go Emiru's way. Next week, she spoke on stream about moving out.
But the very next stream, I went live about a week after that, and I announced that I was planning to move because I knew that I would have to move. So I was like, okay, I have to go live and say this so that, you know, kind of force myself to commit to it.
And this apparently is when the domestic started to begin. Emiru described how he would break furniture, he would throw things near her, destroy walls, and when Emiru would actually lock herself in her room, apparently he would like be banging on the door screaming at her.
Destroy furniture in front of me. He would throw things in front of me and near me. Destroy walls. Again, you can go see this in some of his VODs in his bedroom. The holes in the wall. There would be times where he was upset at me and I would go to my stream room and literally lock myself in to get away from him, and he would be banging on the door and screaming at me.
He would also apparently drive incredibly dangerously and unsafe. I'm talking like 150 miles an hour. And this is when they were in the car together as well. One time, apparently even saying to her that they were both going to die. Now, obviously saying something like that is absolutely unhinged, and putting a partner in that situation is just horrendous. Now, most people would think he would say something like that because of just this buildup of anger and resentment. But apparently the main reason for him saying that was because Mr. Beast invited another streamer to a video instead of him.
He was on his phone and he saw that Mr. Beast had put out a video, and Mr. Beast had invited another streamer, and he was like, oh, Mr. Beast invited this guy to his video, not me. And I was like, oh, well, you know, like, huh, yeah, I guess so. Which led to him going 150 miles per hour in the car and talking about while doing it.
Apparently as well, he would scream at Emiru when she was sleeping, blaming her for the reason that he felt insecure.
Other things would happen, like I'd be trying to sleep and he would scream at me and say that it was all my fault that he felt insecure.
He would throw things and he would start yelling at her if Emiru's videos actually outperformed his.
He threw his phone at the dresser and started yelling because I had posted a YouTube video within the same couple of days as him, and mine was doing better.
And apparently the situation got so bad that on some nights, Emiru would actually sneak out of the house and go to Esfan's house, another streamer. And then once Miskf found out about this, he headed over to Esfan's house and basically chewed her out.
I would sneak out and I would sneak into Esfan's house. Esfan didn't know why I was doing this. He saw me a couple times. I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna go take a nap in your guest room. He'd be like, yeah, that's fine. He figured out where I was going and he would go over to Esfan's house to keep telling me off.
Apparently one instance he did want to yell at her, but then he realized that someone else that wasn't Emiru was in the room as well, so he apparently just completely switched up his tone.
The time that he did it, I was laying in the guest room bed and one of the roommates in that house had come to see like why I was crying, and they were standing in the corner. And he came in and he was very physically aggressive. He was like, Emmy, like, what are you doing? Like, angry. And then as soon as he turned and saw this other person standing there, he instantly like deflated and changed his tone. He was like, oh, Emmy, I was wondering where you were. Like, are you coming home?
Now, when she moved out, she basically hoped that they could move on from what they went through, you know, to be cordial to each other. Because again, like two high-profile individuals dating, it can be incredibly dangerous because, you know, there are so many business contacts, so many friends, friend groups. And then you'll obviously have the fan base as well that try to do their own kind of investigations. You know, if you're in a relationship like that as a streamer, it is very public. She then says in October, which I assume is 2024, the two had separated, but Miskf actually wanted to have one last conversation with Emiru for closure. And when he arrived, Emiru was apparently crying because just the, you know, high levels of emotions with something like this. And Miskf was holding her when she cried, which you would think would be some kind of support. But then Emiru claims that he actually forced himself on top of her and put his hands down her trousers.
He came to my house and I was crying like crazy because he started to try to comfort me by hugging me while I was sitting on the couch. I'm usually very uncomfortable with being touched a lot by people that I'm not in a relationship with. And he started kissing me in my face, and I let him do it. I was still sobbing a lot. He tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants. And I screamed. Yeah. And when I screamed, he jumped off me.
And she claims that when she screamed and jumped off, he didn't even apologize. He just said he felt like he did something wrong, and then he left.
And instead of apologizing or checking if I was okay, he said, I feel weird now. I feel like I did something wrong. I have to go. And he immediately left my house while I was still crying.
Now, Emiru says that she's been very tight-lipped about this. She didn't really want to talk about it, and I don't think she has talked about this before, especially on this public level. But she says that Miskf would actually tell her what to say if other people asked. Like, for example, that Miskf was never physically abusive because he never actually hit her.
He'd also always hammer into me how he never physically because he never hit me, and he would coach me and tell me to tell people or other streamers who were asking about it because they were concerned. He would say tell them that I never hit you, make sure that they know that I never hit you.
Now, if what she's claiming is true, it just seems that Miskf was like incredibly insecure among other really bad traits as well. Like, for example, how he would apparently call her up, something as simple as playing as the same class in World of Warcraft, telling her to not do that because apparently people might think that Emiru plays the game better than him.
Often message me in the middle of my streams and berate me for things like playing the same class as him in WoW because he thought it would make people think that I was better than him.
And then she does actually show screenshots and their messages of him guilt-tripping and harassing her just for playing World of Warcraft. He would also blame her for his dying stream and brand.
And he would say that it was my fault that his stream was dying because most of his viewers liked me, and whenever he hit on another girl, they would be confused or not take it seriously because they knew that me and him were together privately.
And then on top of that as well, he'd like be really just openly antagonistic towards other streamers, not even ones that he had beef with. Like, these were people that were basically only nice to him.
He would say horrible things about other streamers in Austin, like, I quote, "I hate everyone here. You are all useless to me. You're worthless to me because it does nothing for my stream anymore to collab with any of you."
And this is when Emiru, had enough and basically started to straight up ignore him. And then one time she actually said to him that she could now see things for how they were. This apparently caused like a huge personality shift. He switched up his tone completely. He became super apologetic and empathetic.
And I basically told him that I felt like I could finally see things for what they were. And he started panicking and he was super apologetic and he was saying he didn't want to lose me, which wasn't the first time that he did something like that and was basically begging me not to leave.
All of this led to Emiru just, saying that she's had enough and completely cutting contact with him. And the two actually haven't spoken since January this year. But with everything that Emiru has talked about so far, you can probably guess that this didn't work. Apparently, he's tried to contact Emiru 40 times.
He has attempted to contact me over 40 times individually this year in individual texts, Discord messages, Instagram DMs, and phone calls.
And these are actually messages that she shows off on her stream. Like, she actually has the receipts. There's actually one message that Emiru ran through ChatGPT and found that it was 58% AI generated. Now, apart from being bombarded with texts and possible AI messages, there was also IRL harassment that didn't stop either. At parties they went to, Emiru actually believed that Miskf was just following her around. You could be devil's advocate and chalk that up to pretty justifiable paranoia, but this was full-on confirmed when at a party, a person that was with Miskf and hanging around with him, that person then told Emiru that Miskf wanted to know what she was doing.
The person that he was hanging out with that night reached out to me privately and was apologizing. And I was like, why? And they're like, I just felt like I had to apologize to you because I felt so bad and so embarrassed of what was going on. Like, yes, he wanted to see what you were doing. He was saying, I want to go see what's upstairs. And he was checking every room. And then after he opened the room that you were in with Nick, he closed the door and started laughing. And then he just wanted to talk about, how you guys broke up for the next, however many hours of the night.
There was also another instance where Miskf was actually covering the attack that her, Valkyrae, and Sinner had experienced earlier this year. And then this led Miskf on stream to talk about past experiences that Emiru had with stalkers, but without her consent or permission to actually publicly talk about it.
He decided that he was going to tell more of my personal stalker stories that I've never personally talked about or shared publicly myself. And one of these stories was one that, no one knew at all, and
And Emiru even claims that he was twisting these stories, so he was basically coming out as like the hero, the good guy, when in reality, he apparently didn't do anything.
He kind of framed himself as the hero. He was like, oh, I held the stalker at gunpoint. No. The only person who ever came into contact face-to-face with that stalker before the police came was Bonnie.
He also drew a lot of other streamers into the situation, calling them up saying how sad he was because him and Emiru weren't together anymore, and he even hoped that they could get married. Other streamers also told Emiru that he would apparently obsessively hate watch her streams.
I heard that he was reaching out to quite a few other streamers, and he was crying to them about how he wanted to get back together and how he thought someday we would reconnect and eventually get married. I also had a couple other streamers report to me that he would obsessively watch my stream. He would be obsessively and attentively hate watching my stream. Watching my stream and just saying horrible things almost every time that I've been live this year.
Saying awful things about her and trying to convince people that Emiru did actually still want to be with him, secretly. Even asking other male streamers if Emiru was actually sleeping around with anyone else.
He believed I still wanted him. Interesting, considering I never replied. And he would ask other guys if they thought I had slept with anyone this year.
And claiming that the two of them were talking, despite the fact that, as mentioned earlier, Emiru was giving no contact to him. And then Emiru finally ends the stream, basically saying that she wouldn't be surprised if Miskf tries to sue her for what she's talking about. and saying that if that happened, more of the truth would come out because apparently there's a lot of things that she actually hasn't talked about.
I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today and for coming out about him. Not because he thinks that he would win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. It'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today and what else he's been lying about. And I'm sure there's also plenty of things that even I don't know about. I am already in the process of filing a restraining order on him in both Texas and California.
But for now, her next course of action is filing restraining orders against him in Texas and California. So that was a lot of information, a lot of accusations, and I really don't like to cover stuff like this unless both sides have had their say. And surprisingly, Miskf actually responded on stream pretty shortly after. Now, there is a huge difference between the way Emiru has dealt with this and the way that Miskf has dealt with this. Emiru has obviously had a statement that was, pre-planned and also had lawyers going over it. But Miskf, on the other hand, he just seems to be spitballing most of the time. If he does have a script, because he kind of looks at his monitor sometimes, I don't think it'd have nearly as much of the revisions as Emiru's did. Now, when he starts the stream, he knows that he's got serious accusations levied against him. He begins the stream in not the best way, saying that it's time to go full demon time.
Expose everything, bro. It's time to go full demon time. It's clearly obvious at this point. It's full demon time. Why not?
He also says that he's not going to be friends with anyone in that community anymore, and he's got no problem exposing everything, as he puts it. I
am totally okay with exposing a lot of things and saying things. At this point, I think it's pretty obvious I will not be friends with any of these people after this. Ludwig was right. I am going to completely separate myself from these people, this community, which is fine, and I've already been doing it. But I have hundreds of messages and DMs from people, things that people probably would never want to get released that are very interesting for everyone. And I will be releasing it as time goes on, because why not?
Now, Miskf talks about his relationship with Maya, not Emiru, and the reason why they broke up. He also talks about how him and Emiru met, and these two events led to Emiru moving in with him shortly after a stalker showed up to her house with a bat.
But she told me about a stalker that came to her house with a bat, and she didn't live at her house anymore. I told her to come move in with me in Austin because she had a stalker, and we want to make content, and the guy will probably be scared since there's a bunch of people around instead of her in her Kansas home by herself.
Now, the reason he states why him and Emiru kept their relationship mostly private is because he thought that his streaming friends would think it was a really bad look to move on to a relationship so quickly after his previous one with Maya.
We knew we liked each other. We just knew it was a bad idea. Talks of her joining OTK happened fast as well, and I knew that if we were potentially going to date, we'd have to keep it a secret. Streamers as well were already starting to resent me, saying that it was a thing that I moved Emmy in so fast and replaced Maya so quickly.
And then in January 2022, a birthday party for Emiru, a stalker apparently crashed his car into Miskf's and then entered the party with a gun. Now, this guy was found, he was jailed, convicted, and he was serving 3 to 5 years, which I think is a disgustingly short sentence for showing up with a gun, being a stalker.
Emmy just had her huge party in an arcade celebrating her birthday on stream. Everyone from Austin was there, and as we were celebrating her joining OTK, someone outside in the parking lot rammed into my Audi R8. We were told that the person who just hit my car was now inside holding a gun. The cops came, the drunk driver did have a gun, and was sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison.
But according to Miskf, this traumatic event that they both went through actually brought them closer.
And on the way home, I grabbed her hand, and she grabbed mine. And we knew we were trauma bonded, and we didn't want to let go.
Now, he claims that during the first 2 years of them dating, they didn't actually have any fights. And this claim that Emiru made of him throwing a water bottle at her was a separate thing. So he does claim that it happened. He doesn't deny it. He just says it wasn't out of aggression. And then also the claim, which was even worse, of him throwing his phone at her. He says that this was a different story. He did throw his phone, but apparently he threw it to try and put it on the bed when he was brushing his teeth.
She brushed over that I threw water bottles or my phone near her, but that wasn't during fights. I want to make that very clear. It would be me throwing my phone on my bed when I brushed my teeth. She did tell me she got a bruise from it, and I stopped. That's all that happened. I will throw you and show you an example, chat.
Now, in September of 2022, during the allegations against Miskf of trying to cover up assault, Miskf actually says that this entire ordeal made him suicidal.
I was canceled by Trainwrecks and others, trying to claim I covered up assault. It was proven wrong, but that destroyed my mental health, and I was never the same since. I was suicidal, depressed, and I didn't know what to do with my own life.
According to him, Emiru could actually look past him lashing out at her because she loved him. But this culminated during a trip to Japan where apparently they were both stressed out. Miskf's hair started to fall out and Emiru was apparently self-harming.
Got so bad, the stress and constant talking about the same things over and over and no sleep, that most of my hair started to fall out, and Emiru started to hurt herself while we were in Japan.
And this incredibly high-stress environment caused the two of them to start fighting. And he claims that he believed this situation could be fixed. He does admit that he had resentment for her and it started to grow.
We would yell at each other, fight, and argue all the time. Things we never once did. I felt this relationship was taking a huge strain. But as we stayed around longer, I started resenting her a lot more.
He also goes into detail about how allegedly Emiru began to neglect her rabbits, going without food or water or not even cleaning their bedding for weeks.
Emiru has a lot of rabbits, but as those rabbits moved out of her room and into the living room, they started to see disgusting neglect. I, along with many others who would come over, would give them what they needed, and I would tell her all the time to take care of them, but to no avail. She completely neglected those rabbits.
And actually provides video proof of the poor conditions these rabbits were living in.
This is an up-close view of the rabbit cage being completely disgusting and neglected. She left them to die, and I'm not going to sit here and have her pretend she didn't.
And apparently when the rabbits were moved outside, even then, they went without water or food.
Emiru wouldn't clean the cages, and the smell became so bad that we started to have the rabbits just be outside. I told her if that's the case, she's got to make sure she's giving them water, because they are her responsibility. Instead, these rabbits were left outside in 100-degree heat with no food or water or anything.
Now, Miskf says he didn't know how to break up with her, even though he wanted to.
I would constantly want to be farther and farther from her. I didn't know how to break up with her or end things.
The relationship had become strained and the stalkers were becoming more and more of a problem. And he ties his controlling behavior, which again, he fully admits to the rise of stalkers harassing them. He says that he didn't want danger coming her way, so was taking the measures he needed to lower the chance of something bad happening.
On top of that, the stalkers were getting worse. One stalker came to my house and I had to point a gun at him for 30 minutes until the cops came. These stalkers are no joke, but I would constantly tell her on and off stream that she needs to do more because these stalkers are getting worse. In regards to being controlling, I told her many things. I told her to dress older, to stop wearing pajamas, to stop talking about stalkers and schizos as a whole, stop talking about past relationships, and yes, I didn't want her to travel without me.
It's a really weird situation to go over because I genuinely expected Miskf to kind of just be like, no, this is BS, she's lying about this, like it's all fake. But he's basically admitting to a lot of things that she's accused him of. But he's changing, I guess, the perspective of it to be seen in like a more sympathetic way. It's like Emiru would claim he was bad, he did this. Miskf will go, okay, I did that, but I did that because of this thing or that thing. He also details how the last 9 months of the relationship had gotten increasingly toxic, with Emiru moving out after Miskf had told her to, getting upset when they weren't together.
I told her to move out. She didn't move out on her own. I told her to move out because I wanted space, but she still wanted me around at all times. She would get upset if we didn't sleep together or if we weren't around. She always wanted me to drive over to her house, but I never wanted to because I wanted to be alone.
Now, about the fighting, he tries to claim that Emiru was also getting aggressive, throwing clothes and plushies at him. This was whilst he was punching holes in the wall, slamming doors, and that Emiru would apparently threaten to himself during arguments.
But Emmy was also violent. She would throw clothes or plushies at me, and I punched holes in the walls or slammed doors in aggression. I one time did say I was going to kill myself during an argument, but Emmy did this as well numerous times. She would constantly say she's going to kill in arguments.
I'm just going to say, personally, I think there's a huge disparity there between throwing clothes and plushies as opposed to throwing water bottles or a phone. Even if what Miskf claims is true, that throwing the phone was apparently a complete accident. Now, Miskf tries to show his own receipts as well to try to prove that all of this actually happened. And then Miskf lays out the main reason why he broke up with her. Apparently, she posted a provocative picture, and this was apparently done to intentionally upset him.
One day, Emmy posted a very provocative picture, one that she knew I would hate, and she posted it to make me upset. She admitted that she made me upset with it, and we got into a heated argument, and I broke up with her.
But they then got back together, which is when Emiru dates the assault happening. Miskf doesn't even deny this. He says that he wanted to try to advance to the next stage, as he took that her kissing was a sign that they wanted to go further.
We cuddled for about 30 minutes and started to kiss. She said that she was okay with this on her stream, and I started to advance to the next stage because I thought that's what she wanted. She yelped, and I immediately sprung up and was scared if I did anything wrong, or did wrong in general. I got scared and left the house.
He left and then even says that he regrets not apologizing when it happened.
I apologize if that made Emmy uncomfortable for me not saying sorry, and I wish I said sorry back then.
At some point, apparently, the two got back together, and then they decided to write down exactly what they wanted on a piece of paper. Emiru wrote down that she wanted to marry Miskf, for him to move closer, and for them to even have children within the next 5 years. Miskf didn't want this and broke up with her for the final time.
And Emmy had an idea to write down everything we wanted on paper. I'm going to let everyone know that what I'm about to say is very true. This is exactly what happened, and she cannot argue this. One day, after staying over Emiru's house, Emiru made me breakfast, and she wrote down everything she wanted. She wrote she wants me to move closer to her. She wrote that she wants me to marry her, and she wants kids with me in the next 5 years. And I just looked at this letter that was staring in front of me, and I just handed her back the paper. She began to cry, and I told her, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. I knew we were just beyond the point of toxicity in the relationship, that our trust had completely died, and that we had so many issues that I couldn't deal with it, and I was not mentally well.
And that part about him continuing to message her after they broke up, he admits that as well.
I have messaged her numerous times wondering why I have been removed from OTK, Discords, and I was very scared because I didn't know what was going on. Nobody was talking to me or contacting me, and I have had so much regret. Times where I wanted to go back, times where I've drunk messaged her love letters, as you saw on stream. But after 10 months, I know we're much better off without each other.
But he does deny that he was following her around at parties.
I did see her at a party once at Simply's house. The house was very small, and I opened the door, I said whoops, and proceeded to talk in the other room about what I possibly did wrong, and began to bawl out and be depressed because I just saw my ex-girlfriend.
He says that viewership was very important to him because he's just apparently a very competitive person. And he also drives fast everywhere, not just when Emiru's in the car, which again, like, I really don't think that's a good excuse.
If you know me in Austin, Texas, I drive fast everywhere. I drive fast literally everywhere. I'm in an Audi R8 in Austin, Texas, where the freeways are open. I drive fast all the time. I don't even remember what situation she was talking about.
But he does end the stream by saying he wishes the best for Emiru and he's sorry that it happened. He does say, though, however, that he doesn't believe that everything Emiru was saying on stream was actually truthful. But he doesn't actually expand on that, so it leaves more questions than answers. Like, which parts are fraudulent? Like I feel like that's something that needs to be said.
I truly hope nothing but the best for Emmy. I know she said a lot of these things today, and I do believe a lot of them were false. But I do hope nothing but the best for her. I'm sorry that any of this happened. I hate that we're in this situation. And
then he claims he's going to be leaking a lot more of other people's private stuff over the next couple of weeks, and that he isn't going away.
I'm going to stand up for myself. I am going to defend myself in these situations. I am not going away. I have no plans to go away. And I believe a lot of the situations today were absolutely exaggerated.
So obviously, going over this situation, it's brutal. Like the allegations that are thrown out, the claims, Miskf admitting to a fair amount of it, but then trying to basically add a layer on top of it to, you know, change the context, I assume. But yeah, I have no idea what can happen here. Like, this could go legal. Lawyers can get involved if what Emiru is saying is true. I have no idea, genuinely.